Hello, this is Ron McCulloch, consultant podiatric surgeon specializing in the condition of Morton's neuroma. This particular video is just about a subject that many patients approach us about, and it concerns the area of orthoses. Orthoses are specialist inserts that go inside your shoes, in the case of Morton's neuroma, to reduce pressure and to allow better function so that the nerve isn't compressed and irritated. And in some cases, where the nerve hasn't become too thickened and where the condition hasn't become too established, there is still a chance that a mechanical approach like an orthotic can help. First and foremost, what we tend to do in our center is some very advanced gait analysis, and that allows us to establish the underlying reasons as to why the neuroma might be forming. That could be anything from a leg length discrepancy causing increased pressure, to an alteration in hip position, to some laxity of the joint, or perhaps stiffness, arthritis of a joint. This can all lead to Morton's neuroma. So it's always better to have a proper formal gait analysis, and we're lucky enough to have a very advanced 3D technology to allow us to do this, so that a prescribed orthotic can be made. And the prescribed orthotic is generally made from 3D scans, which are then used, and then of course we have 3D printing and technologies like that to make the device. And the device is a good investment in the sense that they are very thin and they last for many years. However, for some patients, for various reasons, perhaps because of financial restrictions, or perhaps because locally there isn't a decent service to go to, patients do ask a lot about off-the-shelf orthoses, and which are potentially the best. The caveat to that is that there is always going to be a percentage of patients who are not going to be suitable for a specific type of off-the-shelf orthotic. The whole point is that it's a generic device, so it can't possibly be right for every foot. So it's really just a case of hoping that your foot shape is suitable for the type of orthotic that you're going to try. But I just wanted to give you some advice on two particular orthoses that I like and that we like within the center for their resilience, and because on a probability scale there is a bit more chance that they will work for a larger percentage of the population. But as I say, you could easily order a device like this and find it's not appropriate for you just because your foot shape is different than the type required to have optimal function from this kind of device. The problem with a lot of the off-the-shelf orthoses that you can get is that they are made from an EVA material, and basically this compresses very quickly. So the device that you purchase is very different to the device that you have after you've worn it for a few days, weeks, especially months. The longevity of these devices is very restricted. And that's frustrating because sometimes the device will work, but then after a while it stops working and you're back to where you started, and it might not always be financially viable to keep ordering and reordering. And in actual fact, in most cases, it then becomes far more cost effective to order a proper custom device and have that manufactured. However, there are two devices I'd like to point out to you, which I think are excellent when it comes to off-the-shelf orthoses. The first one is called the WalkFit. So this is a WalkFit orthotic. And the advantage is that it has a removable metatarsal pad that you can place into the device, and then it has a couple of different options so that if one is too prominent, you can go to a lower one. And the advantage of this is that it's extremely resilient, extremely tough, and will last potentially many years without changing shape. So if you do find something like this helpful, it's going to actually be a reasonably good investment for you. We tend to stay away from the EVA foam type devices. If people need that, they're much better off just investing in a custom device, as already stated. The other device I'd like to just show you is called the Footwear, and it is again an extremely resilient type of orthotic that will last a very long time. Of course, these devices are both relatively bulky. So if you're going to try to expect this to fit into a shoe where there is limited space, even just with your foot in it, it's never going to work. You need to choose with a sufficient space, and a trainer is obviously suitable. And there are a number of trainers that we, of course, recommend as part of the condition, which probably warrants another video, although I've done a lot on footwear in the past in relation to the condition of Morton's neuroma. But for example, if you were to use the Footwear, this particular device, and combine it with something like the YDA trainer, which is extremely deep and wide, even if you have a particularly wide foot, you shouldn't have any problems. And if you do, you've got an insole that you can pull out of this and replace with something else. So for a wider foot type where you already struggle to get insoles to fit, we would recommend something like the YDA shoe as a good option, or otherwise a good stable trainer. If your feet slightly collapse, then a good stable trainer that we would recommend would be the Asics Keanu 30, which is at this point in time, at the time of this video, the latest Asics model in the Keanu range, and an excellent shoe. As I say, I can't guarantee that these devices will help your feet because it's very individual. But if it does help you, then these are very resilient devices that will last you many years, and that I think are a very good investment if you cannot go to the option of a custom device and a formal proper gait analysis as we would perform in our center.